hold on a second, let me think, because I have a few that. You gave what to the? No, but those are your maintenance fees. That's different. That's different. No, I have to double check. I know that I approved because I have two special assessments. I have one for you guys on another account. But I approved both. So I just have to double check to see if it went out 100%. And we can then send out an email blast tomorrow. So I can double check. Yes.
Is the 1% higher assessment?
The 1% is part of the actual assessment. It doesn't, we're not charging the 1% on the $1,500 of the coupon. Yeah, no, it's just on the assessment. 301, and then the additional fees made it to 303 and change, or whatever it is.
Decrease the money.
Yeah.
Not $1,500 to, people just need to say that.
Okay, so we can discuss that, not related to the budget right now. And can you make a note for me to check tomorrow? Well, not tomorrow, but I mean, I'll send an email tonight when I get home. All right. So you can drop off a payment at the office. Okay? Where are you with the minutes, Nikki? Okay. It'll be posted tomorrow. Okay, it'll be posted tomorrow. All right, insurance. So I know that insurance looks like there's a 60% increase. However, that's not necessarily accurate, right? So we understood, and I mean, this has been a topic of conversation on many meetings, where, they approved to pay the increase in the insurance out of the reserves earlier this year. So the adopted budget for 2024, which was 572, was under budgeted. So when you're looking at a 60% increase, it's not a 60% increase for 2025. It's the shortfall of what wasn't budgeted for this year, and then the increase for 2025. Okay, one of the things, so we have a separate insurance spreadsheet here, right? So the total actual cost of the 2024 premium was $783.37 when we only budgeted $572. Okay, so that difference is also being incorporated for 2025. Then, based on the insurance agent and the different percentage increases that were provided to us, and I know I discussed this last week in length with Maureen. So a lot of my accounts on the property, they're giving between 10 and 20% increase on the property, right? Some of my boards are being conservative and saying 20%, some say leave it at 10, some are at 15, right? So we put it at 20, but this is also at the total discretion of the board, right? Based on what they want that percentage increase to look like. The other policies are usually at 10%. Your GL is a bit higher because of the claims that the association has had. So anytime that there's a lawsuit towards the association, a claim is opened, obviously your GL policy increases, okay? And it's really based on what they're paying out.
May I say?
Go ahead.
At one point, there were about 4 lawsuits going. And so every time is an umbrella insurance?
Umbrella, yes.
Every time they pay out for that,
Or the general.
It's not free money. I mean, every time they pay out for that, the insurance goes up. Our goal is to get rid of all the lawsuits. We don't want any more. So just as by way of, I'm sorry, I didn't do that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I feel sometimes there's that misconception that the insurance is going to cover it, but the insurance will cover it, but your policy premium will go up. Okay. I know that there was some adjustments with these numbers that Nikki submitted today. Can you tell me what was it that you did?
So that 784, for example, included, because the policy doesn't renew until March. So that 784 included January and February premium payments, which were already made earlier this year, at approximately like $47,000 each month. So I removed the 94,000 because basically it's already been paid. So it dropped that figure a little bit, which I think is more accurate because for 2025, we're really only going to be accounting for the 10 months from March 1st until December 31st. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So if I take that total property premium of 703,549, which is what we paid, and I divide that by 12, because it's a 12-month policy, it's basically 58,629 a month,
Yeah.
just on the property.
The budget numbers that we had though were $47,000 per month. I'm not sure how it came out that way.
You said it was 47, what do you
Yeah.
mean, budget?
On the financials each month, the budget,
Well,
yeah.
that's, if you're looking at the budget on the income statement for the financials,
Right.
that's based on it's really based on a journal entry, right? Because they're doing a prepaid insurance. So the way, even though you paid your policy in full, for accounting purposes, we document a prepaid insurance because you're prepaying into the following year, if that makes sense, right? So even though you paid in full, you've prepaid the portion for 2025 earlier this year. So we actually bill it we document it on a monthly basis. So that, what you're looking at is really a journal entry, not the total expense of really what it was.
Yeah, I'm just saying that 784 was calculated over 12 months.
Yeah.
But January and February wouldn't be included, they were already paid. So I pulled those out.
So what number did I give you here?
$703,549.
703,549.
Which it kind of matched what was there because the 20% increase actually offset the 2 months based on the numbers that I used.
I don't feel comfortable with that. Hold on a second. No, not with the insurance. Oh, Maureen. Go ahead.
To maintenance, capital management expenses, and insurance, right? So I took the budget from last year, the budget from this year, calculated the difference, divided it by 230 residents, divided by 12, and I came up with about a $125 increase. So our insurance is due in March, right? You're budgeting for the whole year. When you pay in March, where are you getting that revenue from? Right? You haven't collected it yet. The only place to get that revenue from is your reserves. According to the statute, you can't borrow from your Sears reserves, which is intended for your long, capital expenses, right? So this is ultimately going to come to a question for Adrian. How are we paying for the 2025 premium? Are we borrowing money? Are we taking it out of reserves? If we're borrowing money, then we need to start that process now. And taking the 2 months out, I don't think is the right thing to do. I think we need to calculate it, and I think we need to take the hit and pay the insurance. And I strongly recommend we take a look at reducing that insurance liability by somehow, some way. I mean, I know there's a lot going on in the Senate right now about using your, maybe doing self-insurance. Nobody wants to do that, but there are insurance companies, and Nicole and I talked about this a little bit. There are maintenance companies out there that are looking at pooling together to do self-insurance. There's a lot of legalities you need to go through. You have to go to the insurance board in Florida. You have to take ungeographically located properties and, let's say Wisconsin and Massachusetts and Florida and pool that money together. But if you think about it, we're paying almost $1 million in insurance. If you take 3 properties and you invest that and you bypass 1 year of insurance for wind and damage, and you look at the record of this property that was built and the hurricanes that we've withstood, there is a very high probability that we could go without insurance for 1 year and start pulling it forward. But the point I'm trying to make is we've been kicking the can down the road and paying special assessments for these insurance increases. And somehow, some way, if you're going to get an insurance policy, your maintenance fees are gonna go up. I calculated 125, 150, 75. However you run the numbers, they're gonna go up, unless you can do self-insurance.
So, thank you, Maureen. We did have that conversation, and my input was that we do not recommend self-insurance, right? It is a huge liability on our end, and we agreed, right, that there is certain liability, so we don't, as a management company, we would not recommend it, right? We would always recommend that you are fully insured, per statute, okay? So, in reference to, obviously, you're correct, you shouldn't be borrowing money from reserves to pay your operating expenses. I don't think, in past years, a lot of associations, especially that were self-managed, were able to pay in full the insurance premiums because it wasn't $1 million, right? It was probably 400,000, 500,000, where it was feasible to be able to pay that lump sum. However, the way that the market has increased, it's becoming nearly impossible to do that. So the only real option is to finance the insurance premium. And there are insurance financing companies like IPFS, and there's a couple of others. Well, come this year, I would recommend to pay monthly. There's no way that you guys would have that type of equity to be able to make a payment in full. There's no way.
Thanks, you realize we can hear you?
So the insurance would need to be financed, right? We would not recommend for you guys to dip into your reserves again. We would not recommend to do another special assessment because we know that at some point the discussion of the roofs is still out there that needs to be done, and we'll address that as we get into the CSRS. He said it was a comment. He said he had 12 women telling him how, it was just Frank being Frank. Yeah.
Yes, Frank?
If you want to bring up the stuff about the roof, we can wait later.
No. We're not talking about that. Okay, so for the insurance, right? I'm not comfortable. No, all right, no, it's done. Let's move forward.
Yeah, okay.
So, insurance. So, I mean, yes, on the insurance.
Like it was the consumer foreign, do we get?
Their interest rate, right? There is interest associated. So to get back, you would have to have a tremendous amount of surplus in your operating budget because it was never able to come out of reserves, right? The statute doesn't allow you to pay anything out of reserves. And the fact that it was documented in your year-end audit made it a little bit worse of having to fund back that money immediately, right? So, and
You can
but no, he needs to mute himself. So, we understand, right,
Get your phone, please.
So we understand in the accounting world and the association world that unexpected things happen, right? All the time. And there are several associations that have taken money out of reserves. However, an auditor and CPA will tell you that it needs to be put back right away because it's not within the law to be able to do so. What happened here was that it was documented in your audit, which made it a little bit worse, right? That this money was borrowed or that this money was needed to be put back. So I would not recommend that you dip into your reserve to pay the insurance again in full. Well, I believe the only year that you guys did it was this past year. Correct, because they knew that the increase was coming, decided on it, which is not necessarily, you know what I mean? They were trying to do what was best for the association, which is, it's fine. We're budgeting right now about $44,000 in interest there. Out of the million, correct. So, yeah, so right now we're budgeting, it's a 7.25%. However, right now I've seen it, and this is okay this is okay for budgeting purposes. I've seen it this year, like the lowest I've seen was like a 6.25. Now, the other thing that I want to express, you guys are a little bit lucky that your property is renewing at the beginning of the year. I have several different insurance agents that I work with that because of all of the hurricanes that just hit Florida these last couple of months, there's still open claims that have not been closed, which is going to make a huge hit on the insurance market next year. And they cannot give us a correct or 100% percentage of what the increase is going to be. So I actually feel bad for those that are renewing later on in the year because they're really the ones that are going to feel that hit of an increase versus people that are renewing at the beginning. So you guys are actually a little bit lucky that your property is renewing earlier in the year. Maureen, hold on a second. Yes. Ray, sorry. I knew the name, it wasn't coming to mind.
It's how many hurricanes?
Haven't had a direct hit.
So, okay.
Not the new.
There is valuable so for everything insurance to this thing over $1 million. So now you're going to finance it, and you're going to be paying $47,000 each. This is just insanity. So I think it's worth looking into that option.
Okay. Robert wants to say
I
something.
just want to say, Ray, I hear you and I hear you in the ring. And I know people that personally are, self-insuring as individuals. I cannot imagine sitting on this board with a fiduciary responsibility to every single resident here and saying, oh yeah, let's just self-insure. I just wouldn't feel comfortable. That's okay. Sure. Okay. Fine.
Nicole?
So, okay.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Nicole?
Hold on a second. There's somebody still speaking in the back. Give me a second.
So that if we did have structured events, we would have money that makes it better. Because that money, that ridiculous amount of money that we're paying out to insurance companies is sitting in their bank getting insurance. I just think it's worth looking into and having a legitimate conversation. To talk about.
Okay. You have your hand up?
I'm just making sure I will put resale value to a resale value plus. No one, there's no one to buy a condo that's not insured. It's out there.
And you're not going to get a mortgage.
No.
Okay. We had somebody on Zoom.
Nicole, I attached the 2023 audited report. You keep saying that the money was removed per the audit. That is not a true statement, and I wish you would stop making it. You have the audited report.
So I didn't say per the audit. No, I said that it was mentioned.
It was mentioned.
So in the audit, it was mentioned that there was money that was supposed to be allocated for the reserves in the amount of 600. I don't know the number off the top of my mind right now.
Well, you know
right
what? You have the report in front of you because I attached it. It's in the chat. So this is numerous times you've mentioned that we took the money out of reserves for operations. This is not the first time. You need to stop saying that. You
Okay,
have
but
the
that's
audited
exactly what happened.
report. You have the audited report in front of you in the chat. Stop saying that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sure.
I do, like I said, we really need to take a look at our options on paying the insurance. And everybody needs to recognize that in 2025, we're only